Good day, folks. For today's video, I'm going to be answering some questions that I received from Mr. Gibbs. I promised him that I will make a video today answering them. So, let me go ahead and find these questions here. Alright, so, yeah, again, before I get into them, just say I apologize for being so late on answering your questions before. I totally forgot, but here it is. So, your first question was, let's see, first off, did you take classes to help you learn it? He's talking about Chinese. Basically all his questions will be regarding Chinese. First off, did you take classes to help you learn it? If so, how many classes did you take, and did you major in Chinese? So, let's get to that. Well, when I first started learning Chinese, I was doing it just all by myself. Okay, I didn't. I was doing it in Akron. They didn't have any Chinese classes there, so I had to go get some books. I got a phrase book, dictionary, very basic phrase book, and I was just basically using those resources to learn the Chinese. But most of my experience and words I learned came from like actually speaking with the people, because they would use certain things that I didn't understand, and then I would just write them down, and then when I got back home, I would study them. So that's basically all I did when I first started. I didn't really start taking classes until until I moved here to Columbus. That was like I moved here in 2000. What was it? I moved here in 2001. I started 2000. What was that? Is that right? Yeah, I moved here in 2001. I started doing Chinese. I think it was 99. Yeah, it was like 99. So it was like a couple years after studying the Chinese. The reason why I majored in it is because someone told me that I was able to take some sort of placement test, and will have a good chance of placing out on some classes and receiving EM credits. The EM credits are those free credits that you get that you don't have to pay for. So I took this placement test, and I got quite a few credits, so I was able to just go ahead and major in Chinese since the major was halfway completed. All I really had to do was take like some history classes, and that was pretty much it. But for the language part, those are pretty much taken care of. So like I took two Chinese classes. The first Chinese class I took was actually a writing class. During my placement test, they said that my speaking was good, but they said I needed to work on my reading. I was able to read, but there were some things that I couldn't read, so he just suggested me to take a second year reading class. So I did that, and then I took a spontaneous advanced course, and that was pretty much it. And like I said, for the other courses, I placed out of them. So I mean, it only made sense. I got all those credits for Chinese, the free credits, and you know, if you're halfway through the major, why not choose that to major in? So that's why I did that. Let me see. Your next question is, hold on for a second. Ooh, oops. What did I do here? Okay, take any class. Okay, so it said, okay, question. If you're majoring in Chinese, what methods could I combine with it? So when you're majoring in a language, just because you major in a language doesn't mean you're going to come out being able to speak that language. I met so many people who have majored in Russian, Chinese, and any other language, but they can't speak the language. Why? Because when they were taking the classes, they didn't put extra work outside of the class to really sharpen their speaking, their spoken skills. You have to do that. Otherwise, you would just have knowledge about the grammar, and I mean, it's obviously you would, because you've taken like 4 or 5 years of that language towards your major. So you're going to have knowledge about the language, a lot of knowledge about the grammar, the syntax perhaps. But when it comes to speaking, if you haven't been trained in that, you're not going to have those skills. I remember when I took a class. Took one of the Chinese classes. This was not the spontaneous course, but it was like that second year course. I noticed that although the teacher was speaking, the students weren't really speaking that much. They were, I mean, it was like second, third year, and they couldn't really speak, you know. So, and I think that's because most of them, they chose it as a major, but they didn't really put time outside the class to really step their spoken skills up. They didn't do that. They didn't participate in any summer exchange programs. You have programs where you can go overseas during the summer, study over there, and then perhaps you can get a job, and then you can practice the language like that with the natives. They didn't do that, so after they graduate and get their degree, they can't speak the language. So my point here is, if you choose a major in it, I think you said you're majoring in it right now. You need to make sure you're actually trying to practice with the natives. Anything you learn, everything you learn, try to practice with the natives as much as you can. This is very important. I can't stress this enough. So, outside class work, and if you do that, you'll be good. I would say, I can imagine for your teachers are speaking a lot of Chinese in some of these classes, so you're already getting good listening practice with in those classes. But when you're speaking, you can speak with the teachers, or you can just go around and speak with Chinese people on campus to get the extra practice. But you have to do that. So, how do you memorize how to write Chinese characters, or what is a great method? There's really no shortcut when it comes to learning these characters. You have to basically memorize everything. And I don't know as far as what is a great method. The only thing I could tell you is to learn from a context. Get some sort of text, short text, with dialogues, and then just write them out. And it's a lot of writing. You have to do it. But if you're really serious, as I can see, you're majoring in Chinese, you'll be willing to put that effort in. But you have to write out these dialogues and do that pretty much every day. And the more you do that, the more familiar you become with the characters. Okay? Now, they have a stroke order. This is the only thing. When you're doing that, you have to be aware of a stroke order. I always tell people when they write characters, just remember to write from top to bottom, left to right, and never start from the bottom. That's just a basic rule for Chinese. So, there are no shortcuts for that. You just have to put the time in, and go through these drills. Just write out the dialogues, find a text, write those out. Okay? And like I said, over time, you will become familiar with those characters. You also, what you should do is install the Chinese on your computer, and then go to chat rooms and practice that way as well. That's more practice for familiarizing yourself with the characters. Okay? So, how many characters can a person memorize a day? They say it's best to learn 10 a day. Again, I tried this approach before. I spent like a week trying to learn maybe 20 or 10 characters or something like that. I can't remember the number, but I found it to be very slow. It's very, very slow, and that's why I transitioned over to the approach I just mentioned, writing out the dialogues, because you learn quicker that way. You have random characters in a normal dialogue, not so well. I should say relevant dialogue, and you get to soak all those characters up. So I don't know. I mean, it's to each his own. I mean, if you want to do that, go ahead. But for me, I'd rather just go from a text, a context, and then just write them out like that and get more out of it. Okay? Also, how do I stay motivated in learning Chinese, especially since there's a great fear, quote unquote fear, that it's the hardest language in the world to learn? Given that Americans really, quote unquote, help out a lot by emphasizing the fact that is challenging and almost impossible to acquire. Yeah, I know what you mean. When I first started, I was getting the same thing. Everyone, a lot of people who haven't really learned a language, seriously before, if you ask them what the hardest language in the world is, they'll say Chinese, but they don't understand. Yeah, I think I like to go by aspects of different languages. Chinese, I would say, is the hardest language in terms of writing and reading. Definitely is the hardest language, but speaking is not that bad. The grammar isn't that bad, so overall, it's not the most difficult language in the world. Okay? So most people who say that, they really don't understand. Um, they don't understand language. They don't understand this process. They don't understand how it is to go through, to go through learning a language. So I would say people who talk like that, people who are sounding discouraging, they're saying that it's impossible to learn, I would say just don't really listen to them, especially if they don't have a background, a linguistic background in languages. They don't understand. So you have to just forgive those people. But basically you want to just do that, and then just surround yourself around positive people who are positive about the learning process. This is what I do, and you'll be good to go. So if it's something that you really enjoy, you really want to do, you know, all that talk won't really discourage you. Nothing can really stop you, especially when you're motivated. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Hope I answered all your questions thoroughly. If you have any other questions, or anyone else has any other questions, just let me know, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So, Mr. Gibbs, these are your questions. Thanks for posing them, and then, yeah, let me know if you have any other questions. Have a good one.